This will be a spoiler-filled review for the movie Hostile. Originally was not going to do that, but this movie has a really controversial ending, and I don't want to bait other people into watching this movie by talking about the ending and not talking about it in a non-spoiler review, so I'm going to spoil this movie. So don't watch it if you, for some reason, want to watch Hostile. So Hostile is a French film. It is written and directed by the director's first film. It is a post-apocalyptic thriller in the vein of Mad Max. A young woman named Juliet is on a scouting mission for food, and she finds an abandoned RV with a man with his guts hanging out at the outside, and there is a Reaper inside. Reapers are like these humanoid monster creatures. So she kills it, gets the food, but on her way back to the base, she wipes out in her Jeep and breaks her leg. So what ensues, you think, would be like a one-location sort of atmospheric, post-apocalyptic thriller, but instead we get a numerous amount of flashbacks, and the flashbacks are about her and the relationship she had in the past with a man named Jack. Basically, she was in a really bad part of her life. She met him by the off chance for fate, and they became lovers, probably married, and basically, the whole point of the flashbacks is to show her how she, became such a strong person over time. However, the flashbacks take place in modern day. They are very clean, and it's heavy on the romance and drama themes. So it doesn't really mesh well with the grungy, post-apocalyptic, dusty, present-day scenes. So I'm guessing that the director only had about an hour's worth of story and decided to use all these numerous flashbacks to pad out the film as well as provide character development, which is not a big deal, because, at first I was like, oh, these flashbacks are getting kind of like invasive, it's like 4 minutes times 8 or 9, so it ends up being like half an hour to 45 minutes of flashback. But overall, there's no other post-apocalyptic movie that kind of does that, So I was, as a simple thriller, it works. She's trapped in this upside-down car with a gun, but there's a lot of internal inconsistencies in the movie. For example, at the beginning of the movie, she finds that guy who's on the verge of death. He asks for a mercy kill, and she won't give up one of her bullets to kill him. Later on, she's using up so much ammunition against the creature, and she's not even, aiming. And it's kind of like, okay. And then also the fact that the flashbacks could have alluded to the state of the world. The first couple of flashbacks, Jack talks about an incident where his parents died and then he moved to America. They could have at least maybe said that his parents died over some sort of event that happened in Europe, and it's something that's slowly enveloping the world. So they could have had some, icy foreshadowing about the world ending. And there's also another big event later on in the film. Basically, Jack is injured in a gas attack by terrorists. And that's just something random that doesn't have anything to do with the end of the world. So all of these flashbacks are drama and romance related, but they don't really mesh well with the post-apocalyptic genre. Because, when you watch a horror comedy, sometimes you'll have a scene of levity during the horror elements, or you'll have a comedic kill, because you have to mesh them well together. You can't just have, it'd be very scary, then very funny, and then not have scenes intermeshing like that. So the movie's tonal shifts are kind of weird. But the biggest slap in the face, the biggest egregious error, is that at the end of the movie, Juliet is able to kill this Reaper character, one of many, and in its final dying moments, it does something that Jack did to her when they were dating, to make her realize that this creature is in fact Jack. Probably the most stupid decision you could ever make. It's like baking a perfect cake, putting the icing on it, then taking a giant dump on the cake, because it's just so implausible. So basically, the terrorist attack didn't kill Jack. It turned him into a strange creature with super strength, cannibalistic, and he's just been sort of living for the last 5 to 10 years with a group of others, and then he just happens to find his ex-wife from his previous life in a Jeep, and he's been trying to communicate with her, but she's been shooting at him the whole time. Like, what are the chances of that happening? And the movie tries to do the whole, you know, they have a flashback where he's like, this is fate, you know? Like, it's raining, you came into my art gallery and I met you. And they're trying to, like, have this deep, you know, kind of like, you know, it's fate that they would meet again, even after the world ends. And this feels so cheesy. So she commits murder-suicide with him. And this, it's like, you know, probably the worst twist I've ever seen in a movie. Like, it overtops the one I saw in the movie Break. Break is a movie where a man is kidnapped and he's put in a trunk of a car during a terrorist attack on DC. And that movie's bad too. Don't watch that one. So don't watch this movie either. Hostile is, at its core, it's basically a wannabe, one-location, atmospheric, post-apocalyptic survival thriller. Didn't have enough story, so they threw in some romance drama flashbacks to make it long enough for 70, was it 75 minutes or 80 is the minimum. And then they decided to throw in one more twist. Now, however, there is something I read online where a guy said that it would have been better maybe if, while the creature was crawling towards her and then he does that thing, that was like his final attack and he ran out of strength. That would have been a very, much more metaphorical and subtle ending. But it didn't go in that direction. She literally says, like, Jack, and she hugs him and he hugs her back. And then it's just a terrible, terrible film. And the writer-director, he does a good job with all the other elements. Like, the post-apocalyptic stuff is great. That opening fight in the RV, it's a less is more kind of, lots of style, excellent cinematography, good production value and design. Just that ending kind of deflates the whole movie. And the flashbacks are bad enough because there's like 8 or 9 of them and they're like 4 minutes long each. But that kind of just threw everything out the window. I'm guessing he was sitting there writing it and he was like, I need to have something at the end there to, or else this is just a generic survival thriller about a woman overcoming all obstacles because of, she was, you know, inspired by a past love, which is poetic, but he just kept going and it didn't work. So Hostile is a movie I watched just because it's a post-apocalyptic thriller and I was in the mood to watch it. But the main character is also very toxic. She's a very unlikable person. There's even a scene where she threatens to kill her comrades because they won't come get her because she's surrounded by monsters. Like, obviously, they're not going to put the group in danger because of that. Anyways, overall, the acting's fine. The production value's fine. But Hostile is a movie that just throws itself off the rails completely for the last 5 minutes. It's not worth watching. So I give Hostiles a 0 out of 10, I guess.